What's going on YouTube? Cloverbells here, back with another Scarlet Violet video, and today we're hopping back into the Showdown Team Builder, which means we're going to be doing some team building today because now that the World Championships are over, I've been asked, a couple of questions that pertain to this topic. What would a standard Regulation D team look like now that the World Championships are over? How do some of these EV spreads change? How do some of the Tera types change and adapt and evolve to what is like currently at the moment the more optimal way to play a certain squad? All right, and some of you have done team building sessions with me because you guys have locals coming up, so I figured let me just put one video together and just like put in perspective what are some things currently that people need to watch out for or be on the lookout for. All right, so and this is something that you need help with if you're trying to get a squad together for online play or a tournament or a regional upcoming in September, and you need a little bit of help. Make sure to book a session with me with the video link below, as well as the pinned comment where you can sign up on the channel with the tier 3 sub. And again, with that tier 3 sub, it lets you get a Discord call with me, and we get to build a team from scratch, just like what we're going to do today in this video. And I show you how to do EV spreads, I show you how to do damage calcs, I show you how to optimize certain Pokemon for the given meta at the given moment. All that fun stuff is done with a team building session with me. So make sure to check out the tier 3 sub in the video description below and in the comment section. All right, without further ado, so basically let's just make a relatively standard 6, right? But like show how something like this has progressed because of the post worlds event. All right, so without further ado, so let's basically start here with something like Chien-Pao and Urshifu, right? And this is a very, very good starting point. This was pretty much everywhere within the world's top cut, right? These two, and for good reason, right? They just both exert a ton of pressure, and then at the same time you get a little bit of good positioning, especially if you can just have like Rillaboom here, which can give you fake out pressure altogether, which basically allows you to get good positioning by going for surging strikes, fake out play. It forces the opponent to either Tera or make a switch, right? Because sometimes it's just relatively hard to defend against, right? And then at the same time, you're just boosting the damage altogether from both of these. With the Chien-Pao, you can be more aggressive with your Icicle Crash plays, which is now more prevalent than the Ice Spinner, right? Especially on teams with Rillaboom. Sometimes I see Ice Spinner and then Rillaboom. I don't think that's optimal, right? I still understand it, but at the same time, you're blowing up your own terrain, okay? And then at the same time, with Icicle Crash, you don't suffer at the hands of Rocky Helmet Chip, which is important. If you didn't know that interaction, now you do. And then you just opt for more damage, right? Which is great because a lot of these damage calcs from like Flutter Mane or some other Pokemon, they're calcing for like, Jolly Ice Spinner, maybe even like Adamant Ice Spinner. But have you been calcing for Adamant Icicle Crash, which can ruin a lot of these damage calcs, which is why not only did you see it in the World Championships, but you also saw it in the recent Japan Invitational hosted by Wolf Glick. Pretty much every single Chien-Pao had Icicle Crash. I didn't see a single Ice Spinner in sight. All right, then from here, where do you go? So now we have a bunch of physical attackers. We've got a water type, we've got a grass type. Let's add a special attacker and let's add a fire type. So I can't think of a better Pokemon than Heatran that can fulfill that role, right? And this is how you have to go about your team building process. Like how do you need to fulfill roles on a certain team, right? So we've got 3 physical attackers. We need some special presence. So let's go with Heatran, and we needed that fire type for our Fire Water Grass core. This is arguably the best Fire Water Grass core in the format. So it's always safe to start with something like this with Rillaboom, Urshifu, and Heatran, right? They cover for each other's weaknesses relatively well. And, you can, play against any kind of archetype really with these 3, right? It just all depends on the matchups, right? And then from here, you've got 2 slots. Where do you want to go from here? You could argue that you can just simply go Dragonite and Flutter Mane, into something like this, ideally, right? But the Dragonite, believe it or not, has dropped, has fallen off quite a bit, and teams are opting to just let go of the Dragonite and just opt for something like either Landorus, right? Which, gives the team overall an Intimidate presence. You get a nice flying type pivot now, for the Heatran in terms of better, catching the ground type attack off guard, and then just, adding bulk, with Flutter Mane, right? And then Flutter Mane landers are actually a very, very good duo together. I don't know if you people realize this, but, with Flutter Mane being so weak to like steel type attacks, landers can kind of help you against that weakness because you have a super effective ground move. And then at the same time, with landers being so weak to something like an Urshifu, you can just go for a fairy move, and then it's just super effective against it because it's weak to it, right? So, and then like we said, the Intimidate support is really, really good for the Flutter Mane because it just makes this poor defensive bulk actually a little bit more manageable in that sense, right? So you can always opt for this. This is pretty good. Or you can opt for something like this with Tornadus, a little bit more speed control, with Tailwind support, of course. And then you have the option to either go for something like Sunny Day or even something like Rain Dance. We're not going to go both. We're just going to go with like the pros and cons of both. So like with Sunny Day, now you can enable the Flutter Mane because of photosynthesis, either make it do more damage, right? Or give it a speed boost. And then at the same time, you can have the Heatran do even more damage with Heat Wave, right? So that's always really good. And then at the same time, Sunny Day is really good against an opposing Urshifu because if you think about it, something like Chien-Pao or Flutter Mane, they kind of suffer against Surging Strikes Urshifu. You can't really live it, especially if you're a Flutter Mane. But if you activate Sunny Day, now all of a sudden you can take those Surging Strikes relatively well as those Aqua Jets for that matter, right? So that's also really good. And then it also helps the Heatran in that sense too, right? Survive the Urshifu stuff. Like, yes, they still have close combat, but actually nowadays they're dropping the close combat and opting for something like Taunt or Swords Dance, depending on the set. So, Sunny Day actually looks really good. Rain Dance is also a pretty good idea. At the same time, you might have Urshifu do more damage against your own Heatran and Flutter Mane, but at the same time, it doesn't really hurt the Flutter Mane in that sense, right? You don't activate your photosynthesis, but that's okay. What you do is allow your Urshifu to do more damage, right, in the rain, which is really good. And then in the rain, you have your Rillaboom and Chien-Pao suffer less damage from an opposing fire type attack, right? So that's also the benefit there of Rain Dance altogether. And it's really good at changing the weather against some of these opposing Sun teams that are still running around. So there is the benefit there. So if you had to pick one for me, I'm going to go with Sunny Day here. I like enabling the Flutter Mane. I like enabling the Heatran. And I like having, to do less damage against an opposing Urshifu. So in that sense, I will go with Sunny Day here. So you can almost consider this like a Tornadus Sun team. We'll call it that for a better word, right? Let's just put Flutter Mane over here. So this is it. This is the 6. And now what we're going to do is we're going to show you like different options as far as like what you can do with some of your movesets as well as your Tera types. And then, of course, we'll give you and explain some EV spreads for the rest of this team. All right, so let's take a look. Okay, so going back to the Tornadus here, so we are going to go with Sunny Day here. So that means Tailwind and Bleakwind Storm are going to be the play. Now, the other benefit I forgot to mention with Rain Dance is that your Bleakwind Storm is now 100% accurate. But again, it doesn't suffer at the hands of Sunny Day. You're still dealing with the same accuracy RNG, so, it's still totally fine. Then from here, it's Taunt. So Taunt is really good, because now you can't protect. You can't go for your substitute. You can't go for your Trick Room sometimes if you don't have your Mental Herb. So it's a really, really good play, and it's pretty good into the mirror if you can outspeed the opposing Tornadus. But we're going to be going for a bulkier Tornadus for good reason, which we'll explain once we go into the EV spreads. But I like Rocky Helmet here, believe it or not, with Tera Ghost. So now you can definitely use the Covert Cloak here. It's totally fine here. That'll help you against like fake out pressure, but this is why you have your Tera Ghost option here. The Rocky Helmet along with Sunny Day is just really good against the Urshifu. You really win that matchup altogether. And then at the same time, it's also pretty good against like Dragonite Chien-Pao stuff, especially if the Chien-Pao just doesn't have Ice Cold Crash for that matter, right? So I like this a lot. And then from here, Chien-Pao, we'll go Tera Ghost here again for the same reason, the fake out pressure, removing the fairy weakness as well as the fighting weakness altogether. 4 times weakness is not great. Ice Cold Crash, like we said, will be the play. Sucker Punch and Sacred Sword are still here. Of course, with the coverage is still relatively good against steel types like Heatran. Sucker Punch is just really good altogether as a priority move, especially if they're down to like 1 HP from a Sash. Now here you can definitely opt for Focus Sash, right? Of course, and it's still very, very good. Or you can go the new Hirofumi route and go for Life Orb Chien-Pao and opt for this. And we're gonna borrow it. We're gonna basically go with this idea of Life Orb Chien-Pao. But if you, the viewer watching this video, want to go with Focus Sash Chien-Pao, then definitely go ahead. But the idea with Life Orb Chien-Pao, and the reason why Hirofumi was able to also win the Japan Invitational, is this just ruins all kinds of damage calcs, right? Because if you think about it, fluttermanes have been adjusting their spreads throughout the start of Regulation D. They've been going bulkier and bulkier because first they were calcing for Jolly, Ice Spinner, Jolly, Sucker Punch. Then they were calcing for Adamant, Ice Spinner, and Adamant, Sucker Punch. But now, can you calc for Icicle Crash? And then at the same time, okay, maybe you can, but now can you calc against Life Orb, Sucker Punch, and Life Orb, Icicle Crash? And it's very, very hard to do it. And it almost doesn't make sense, because you're just giving up so much of your attack and speed to be able to do that. So Chien-Pao, at the same time, you're just exerting so much offensive pressure with this. It's for good reason. That is also why it's a good item altogether, right? But if you like the safer route and going with Focus Sash here, then you can definitely do that. But for me, I definitely like the Life Orb Chien-Pao at the given moment. Because again, this is a post-Worlds kind of team, so I'm showing you the post-Worlds concepts, right? So then from here, Fluttermane, one of the new Tera types after the tournament was, of course, Tera Grass, which does a lot, right? It helps you get around Amoonguss, it helps you resist the Urshifu Surging Strikes, and then at the same time, it removes your Ghost weakness as well as your Steak weakness, right? Steel weakness, making them neutral hits altogether. The only thing you're going to suffer at the hands of is, a Fire type attack, or even something like a flying type attack, right? Which is again a little bit more merit to, you can even consider just running Rain Dance on this, which will help you reduce that damage from a Fire type attack, with this Grass Tera in this setting, right? But we discussed why we like Sunny Day over the Rain Dance. All right, so then from here, where do we want to go? So we'll go Dazzling Gleam, we'll go Moonblast, we'll go Shadow Ball, and then Protect here. Of course, this will be our substitute Pokemon. So if you were wondering why I'm not going with our substitute Fluttermane like we did in July, this is the reason. And then, believe it or not, Pixie Plate was the developmental item, within the World Championships, as well as Japan Invitational. And the whole idea is this, because normally, with Booster Energy, you need that to be able to get a special attack boost, right? If you're Modest Nature, right? But then that makes you slower, right? But now you can opt to go Timid now, okay? And then have a speed boosting Fluttermane in the sun, but now you don't lose the damage that you would get from the booster because now we're slapping on the Pixie Plate, right? So we're getting the damage here from the Pixie Plate, from your Fairy type damage, I would say. And then you can still be a fast Fluttermane and outspeed the mirror, because now you can be a Timid Nature Fluttermane, right? And we saw that, right? A lot of these Fluttermanes were opting for a Timid Nature, a speed boosting one. And it makes sense, right? You need to win the mirror. It's important. So in this sense, we're going with the Pixie Plate Timid Tera Grass Fluttermane, the newest modern Fluttermane at the given moment, right? But if you like a more modern, a little bit of an older, modest booster energy Fluttermane, you can check out some of our older team building videos. We have that kind of set there, and those EV spreads are also available there as well. All right, Urshifu. Okay, so Surging Strikes, yes. Aqua Jet, yes. Protect, yes. Now this third slot, like we mentioned, right, within the World Championships, you saw this safety goggles, Swords Dance set. Okay, and the idea was this, right? And I'll actually just do this EV spread first, just so that it makes sense while I'm explaining. The idea was that before you had this Mystic Water set, right, which made you go Adamant 156. This is to the EV bump here. And again, if you don't know what EV bumps are and you're trying to play competitive Pokemon, make sure you comment in the video description below asking what are EV bumps, right? They're very important. They're very fundamental to understand. I always get at least 1 or 2 people asking what EV bumps are. So make sure you ask what they are if you don't know what they are, as I mention them as I build the EV spreads of this team. So from here, like I said, Mystic Water, this was the standard set, with Adamant 56, but with Swords Dance and now with Safety Goggles, you're able to win the mirror and you can get around the Amoonguss, right? But now you don't need so much attack investment anymore. What you can do is just drop this to Adamant 76, right? You're still doing a decent amount of damage, especially if you're Tera Water. But now what you can do is just have these extra EVs put into more speed or more bulk, right? So we're still going to go like 140 here, still relatively standard. And we're still going to opt for that damage calc where we can still survive Dragonite E-Speed, you know, Choice Bandit shenanigans. But now we just have so much more special defense bulk, and now we can actually live, you know, a little bit more than just a Dazzling Gleam from a Flutter Mane, right? So this is the idea from this set. But I opted, you know, this is because this is what the viewer requested. If you like this, then definitely totally it makes sense. You can still also go with Mystic Water and then go back, you know, in terms of your investment here, and go back to Adamant 156. And then what you can also do is opt for Taunt, right? So now you have 2 Taunt users on your team, right? Which also makes sense. If you also didn't have a Tornadus on your squad, you know, just to be able to taunt things like an Amoonguss, like a Cresselia, you know, Hisui and Guja. These are all things that don't like to be taunted. You can also opt for that. We saw this quite a bit in the Japan Invitational and even a little bit in the World Championship. So if this is something you like, definitely go for it. They opted for like, let's just get rid of close combat. Sure. But the advantage of having close combat, again, is just a very, very strong, solid fighting move, right? You have something to click if you do go against something like a Gastrodon. Same thing with something like, you know, a Steel type altogether. And then you're partnered with Chien-Pao, right? Close combat just does so much damage when partnered with Chien-Pao. So let's still take advantage of that and still opt for that. You know, I'm fine with Taunt on this Tornadus. We still have Substitute on Heatran. We're okay in terms of like stopping Trick Room shenanigans. It's still fine. So in this sense, I'm still opting for close combat on this team. But at the very least, I gave you, the viewers, some options as far as like what could go into that 3rd slot post-Worlds, right? Rillaboom here, Assault Vest, still relatively standard. We're going with Fake Out, we're going with Wood Hammer, and then we are also going for U-Turn, a nice good strong pivot move. This last slot, you can either opt for Knockoff, or you can go with Stomping Tantrum. Personal preference, I went with Stomping Tantrum. I just like having a good ground move. It's pretty good into something like, you know, Iron Hands or another Steel type like Goldango, if you ever need it. But I opted for Stomping Tantrum in this sense. But if you like Knockoff, if you want to knock off like a key item on Cresselia for that matter, you know, something like that, and just still do like super effective damage, definitely go for it. But in this video, we're just going to stay with Stomping Tantrum. And then I'm going to go with Terra Steel here on this Rillaboom, right? This is actually really good. And we saw this, you know, even in Worlds and the Invitational. It's great against Chien-Pao, okay? Yes, you're still weak to like fire type attacks altogether. Still fine. This will also help you resist something like Tornadus lead. So now you can also lead Rillaboom, Urshifu, and then just go like Terra Steel option and then, you know, Surging Strikes, whatever. So you can resist those 2 weaknesses altogether. So there is merit to Terra Steel Rillaboom. So I'm showing you here, okay? Then the Heatran. All right, so Tera Grass, Heatran, of course, that's still like pretty much the best kind of Heatran at the moment. We're gonna go leftovers here. We're gonna go Tera Blast, all right, Tera Grass, which is really good into like an opposing Urshifu, you know, in that sense. And then of course Protect, right? So then I think we got everything we need here, right? Yeah, we got all the Tera types, we got all the movesets. So this is it. This is like pretty much the open team sheet, right? So now let's just go ahead and show you some of our EV spreads here. Okay, so let's go back into Tornadus here. So basically the idea now is, can you pick some damage calcs that you want your Tornadus to live in, right? And, you know, I get this question a lot. How do you know what kind of EV spread you want to do, and how do you know what kind of damage calc you want? You have to play the game, right? You need to play, and you need to know what the meta is at the moment, because you won't know that. You're not going to know your calcs unless you actually play the game. Like, it doesn't make sense to calc for Kyogre if there's no Kyogre. All right, so play the game, right? And then you'll get a feel of how to adjust your EV spreads and see what it is you want to calc against, right? And it's a learning curve, right? If you're a newer player, this is going to take some time, but if you're a little bit more seasoned and a little bit more of an experienced player, then you kind of have a sense of what you want to be able to do. But I've decided and made the executive decision that we're going to have our Tornadus be bulky with a bold nature, because we want to survive not only Dragonite E-Speed shenanigans, but also Urshifu Surging Strikes, right? Without having to, lose out on our speed in so much, right? So the spread that we're gonna go here is a bold nature, right? We're gonna go just about this much, about 220, all right? And then 156 would hit the EV bump here. But in order to like get the perfect calc here, or at least give you like a favorable roll, we just went with like 188 here, right? So if we just go into the damage calc here, right? Let's just already set this up here. Like, let's go Tornadus here, right? And we'll have it against Urshifu, right? We'll just calc against like the bulky Mystic Water variant with modest 156. And then let's say like their Terra Water, right? Which is kind of what they like to do against a Tornadus. All right, so we're gonna go Bold Nature, right? And already you can see the damage count looks like it's gonna work. So as we increase this HP, right? You know, technically about 175 would be like the optimized way, you know, against like sand chip damage. But like, here we go. We'll just give it a little bit more oomph, right? This is where I originally started, and then I just went into like more defense, right? And now you can see the Surging Strikes damage go even lower. And we're starting to be able to get this. Well, yeah, see? Look at that, right? And then this was the bump, right? 156, right? So, oops, right here. So we still have ways to go, right? In terms of like trying to live this thing. So then we're going to put a little bit more HP. And it just turns out there's like a certain weird interaction here where we're just actually going to like get a lot more value out of this, right? If you just look carefully here. So like, look at this. Now you're at 43%, right? So then I decided, all right, let's put a little bit more defense, right? And look what happens. It went from 43, right? 43 to like 6. It's actually crazy, right? So, you know, you could actually just keep the spread like this, which is actually really, really good. But ultimately, this is how it worked out, right? It's just like you just have to play around with the damage calculator until you can get that certain combination of numbers that should be able to help you live whatever it is you needed, right? So 180 was that. Then from there, you know, it's just about like how much speed do you want? Not a lot, right? Because we're clicking prankster moves. You know, we have 3 prankster moves. We have the occasional Bleak Wind Storm, you know, which we're already outspeeding the entire format anyway after a Tailwind. So really all it is just dumping the rest into like special attack, right? And you can even argue like, all right, let's just put a little bit more into speed, something like this, right? So that's it. We just have the defensive calc to survive against that Urshifu. Now, if you really also want to look against Dragonite E-Speed, we can also look at that in that sense. Okay, right here, E-Speed, Sword of Ruin, 96%. Yeah, I'll take that. Thank you. So, and you're living all of this, right? And this is what I wanted to do in terms of like the damage calculator, right? So then from here, Chien-Pao, Adamant. I still like max speed, of course. I think it's still important in something like the mirror, and this will also speed tie against like the modest max speed flutter manes. They also hit like 187. So but they're like going bulkier anyway, so we still outspeed them. Just a little bit of Life Orb optimization here, and then just 1 point here in the bulks, and then just dump all the rest into attack like this. And then from here, Flutter Mane. So here's the thing with Flutter Mane. Okay, I still want to live Icicle Crash Chien-Pao, right? But I also want to optimize my HP for Rillaboom, right? So my starting point here is I'm going to, well, first let me pick my speed tier, right? Let's say, I think like 76 is pretty good. 181 is a very, very good VGC tier number, right? This is still going to outspeed like the Genies because, you know, they cap at like 180 or 179 if I recall. So like just going to 181 for speed creeping is like still okay. All right. But in terms of like my HP for Rillaboom, I'm going to move it right up here, 108. 144 will optimize for grassy terrain recovery, right? So if you just do some quick math, 144 divided by 16, that's 9. So it's a perfect 9 HP of grassy terrain recovery per turn. And you can already imagine we're going to put a whole bunch of defense in here. So this way we can survive that Chien-Pao Icicle Crash, right? So if we go back into the damage calculator, we're going to go Flutter Mane here. All right, let's go a clean slate. All right, we'll go level 50. We'll go 108 investment. And then we'll go into Chien-Pao here, of course, and we're going to go for the Adamant Icicle Crash, right? So 250 Adamant Nature, and then Icicle Crash, not Ice Spitter, right? So as of this moment, Icicle Crash is still KOing, right? Even with this 108 investment. So now we have to just pretty much increase our defenses until we can get this down to about 99, right? So all this bulk here, look at the Icicle Crash damage dropping. We already live Sucker Punch, so that's already relatively good. So you can already see we're starting to get there. So this is already good news, right? This is how you can get your, there it is, we got it, 108, 204, right? So this is what's gonna let us live this Adamant Chien-Pao Icicle Crash. Like, this is this is the power of Chien-Pao, guys. It forces you to go like super bulky and sacrifice, you know, a lot of your speed and a lot of your special attack. But you got the Pixie Plate, so in that sense, okay, sure. Then you just put 1 point in SpDef and then just dump the rest in special attack. And this works out because 170 times 1.2 from the Pixie Plate will give you a nice solid whole number rather than a decimal. So, you know, it still works out, right? And again, like I said, we do have this. And then at the same time, if you want to really like match up against Urshifu, right? Of course, you're not going to be able to live that sense, right? You know, Surging Strikes is still going to KO you, like. But if you have the Tera Grass, like I said, if you have the Tera Grass, and even if they're Tera Water, okay, you can still potentially live this, right? There it is. And then if you go Sword of Ruin here, it's still like a decent roll, 18.8% chance. I'll take that, right, in that sense. But, and again, like I said, not all of them are Adamant 156. Some of them are dropping to like 76. But this is still like pretty good. Adamant, Surging Strikes with Mystic Water, okay, with Sword of Ruin, Tera Water, and you still have a very, very good roll to live it, right? That is the power of a bulky Flutter Mane. Imagine all of that, okay? All right, Urshifu here, we already did when we were building the team all together. Rillaboom, so I'm going to break some of my optimization rules here a little bit. I'm still going to go Adamant Nature, but instead of going like 132 investment and like 196, you know, this is like our old Rillaboom set. This will survive, you know, Dragonite E speed. And then just going something like 114 speed, right? And then just dumping the rest in SpDef. This was like our old Rillaboom set, you know, and we even used it in like Sword and Shield. So still pretty good. But we're going to break our rules here a little bit. We're going to go a little bit more bulkier, but a little bit less hard hitting. We're going to go to Adamant 116. We're going to max our HP a little bit. We'll just have a little bit of SpDef, right? Just a tiny bit. We have 8 EVs here. We'll just put this into defense like this, right? Just some leftover. Right, and the idea is just to be like physically more bulky, and just adding more HP altogether is just still like a very, very good way of using your Rillaboom. We still have the same ideal speed tier 114, still outspeed some Heatrans, which is what I really want out of this Rillaboom, but I just wanted to make the boom a little bit more bulkier. We still one-shot a lot of Flutter Manes altogether, but in this sense, I just wanted a little bit more HP here. And 208 is almost that number that we can reach for optimal grassy terrain recovery. But, you know, if you liked our old way, then you can copy our old Rillaboom sets from our previous videos. But this is the way I want to go about it at this point in time. All right, Heatran. So modest Heatran here. You know, again, I like, you can either go like modest 156 to the second bump here, but either way, I'm going to 204 HP. This will optimize for my leftovers and my Rillaboom grassy terrain recovery, right? 1/16 of this. So I'm definitely going for this trademark number. And then from here, just a little bit of speed. How much speed do I want? Maybe just like this, just outspeed like my own Rillaboom, so I don't speed tie it. And then you can either put just this, right? 4 points in defense and SpDef, or you can take away from some of Heatran's attack, right? Make it a bulkier set, and then just split up the rest of this, right? And then just do something like this. There's no real damage calc I have here for Heatran at this, you know, given moment and time, but you know, if you just need like something generic, you can always just use something like this. You're hitting the first bump here, you outspeed some Rillabooms, or maybe most. They don't really like go super fast. And then you have an optimal HP for the leftovers / grassy terrain recovery. All right. And this is a pretty good starting point, right? And again, am I saying like, is this like the most perfect team in Regulation D? Absolutely not. Is it still a good team? Can you still win a lot of games? Yes. I think we got this team relatively high on the showdown ladder as well. And you know, we gave it to the viewer and they were able to like get, you know, like 1700 with it. So like, oh, okay, so this works. Right? So it's still like pretty good. So let's just put the paste on the screen just so that, you know, I see that I can have all the Tera options here. So these are 2 ghosts. This is grass, this is water, this is steel, that's also grass. So yeah, relatively good. And again, like this is all subjective. If you like Rain Dance here, okay, sure. If you like Sunny Day to enable your Flutter Mane and Heatran, still also pretty good. But I like Sunny Day here as opposed to Rain Dance, but it's all up to you as the viewer. So now what I'm going to do is just show you like some, you know, very quick early, you know, showdown games that we were using with this squad. And, you know, this way you can at least see how it can pilot and see how some of these moves and damage calcs work. Okay, so here, this is like, oh, I think this is from like Worlds, right? This is like that Goldango Pelipper Rain team with like Iron Hands and Chien-Pao here, along with Surging Strikes, Urshifu. So this is pretty good. This is a good team to try and go against, like Sunny Day versus like the rain stuff. So, you know, Flutter looks pretty good here, you know, just because you have Shadow Ball for the Goldango, you have fairy moves against Iron Hands, Chien-Pao, and Urshifu. 3 fairy weeks, right? I remember our good friend Sempra, he pretty much posted on Twitter, almost every single team has like 3 Flutter Mane weaknesses. This guy's got 4, so we can try and utilize that to our advantage. And then at the same time, you know, we've got options in the bag. I don't think we need to bring Chien-Pao into something like this, so we'll leave that at home. I definitely want to bring Tornadus here, like I said. And then from there, it's just like using Rillaboom to your advantage, right? And I also want to bring my own Urshifu just because it can do well into his rain, because he's going to give me the rain. So that's pretty much the 4 that I'm going to decide to bring. So here we go. Tornadus and Flutter as a lead. All right, here's Pelipper and here is Chien-Pao. Okay, so a couple things right away. So I can easily just go for like a Sunny Day just to take away the Pelipper's rain, get the speed boost on the Flutter Mane, outspeed this Chien-Pao, and just, you know, go ham, right? That looks like a very easy play, very safe play. Now, the problem here is like, do I go Dazzling Gleam or do I go Moonblast? All right, and I also don't know if this is Sash or Life Orb, right? So that's also the other thing. And this Pelipper, some of them have Wide Guard, some of them don't. And I don't know if this one does because this is online ladder play. So I end up just going for the Tera Ghost, right? Just in case he wants to do some shenanigans with like a dark move. But there's the Wide Guard, so good play there. I do live the Icicle Crash, which is great, you know, because that's why I went for Tera Ghost here. But I decided to just like be super aggressive here with the Bleak Wind Storm and Dazzling Gleam. So it ends up being a really, really good turn for him and not so great of a turn for me, because I second guessed myself at the very end, which I shouldn't have done, and went aggressive there with the D-Gleam and the Bleak Wind Storm there, right? Where I could have easily just gone for like Sunny Day and a single target attack, you know, anticipating the Wide Guard there. So if I were to take that back, that's exactly what I would have done against another team like this. But I have to replay and reposition because I'm behind. So the Chien-Pao goes for Icicle Crash. We do live it, right? Again, this is why we go bulky Flutter Mane, right? So we get the single target Moonblast, which is great for me, all right? And he goes for Tailwind there, right? If he just went simple Hurricane there to double up, he's in a really, really good spot. But he decided, let me get my Tailwind up, you know, just so that I can match the opposing Tailwind on the Tornadus, right? But we switched it out. We're keeping it for the late game. Okay, so we're going to go into Rillaboom here, and I just want to Surging Strike this Chien-Pao just to get it off the board, which is great. Now, Hurricane does so much damage, it actually just removes my Urshifu. This is one strong Pelipper. This is probably like maybe Modest Sash or something like that. Actually, no, it wasn't Sash. The other one was Sash. This might be like maybe Specs or something like that, or just maybe I'm just weak to Stab, super effective Hurricane altogether, right? So who knows? But here's the Iron Hands, and here is my Tornadus again, right? So he can't fake out this slot. He can't fake out the Rillaboom, and he can just Hurricane this slot. So there's not really a whole lot I can do in that sense, which is exactly what he does do. So there's the fake out. I do go for Tailwind, so this way I can have the speed control at the end. So I'm staggering my Tailwind, right? So I've got, you know, more turns of Tailwind than he will, and I do live. So thank you, Assault Vest, and thank you, extra HP Rillaboom in that sense, right? I do get confused, which is not super great. And here's where I also make another misplay. I do go for Bleak Wind Storm here, right? But I did go for Stomping Tantrum in this sense. This is a misplay. I thought it would do more damage than Wood Hammer, but I was, of course, sadly mistaken. Wood Hammer definitely does more against the Iron Hands than a Stomping Tantrum. So if I could take that back, that's another play that I would, you know, redo, right? I could have picked up the KO on the hands here, but instead he picks up the KO. And now I'm down 2 Mons and he's just down 1, right? But I do have the Tailwind on my side, okay? And it looks like a very easy Dazzling Gleam, right? You pick up the hands and then you deal like some good chip damage against the Pelipper. However, right, he can also go for that Wide Guard yet again, which is what I'm reading into. So he's just going to go for Wide Guard altogether. I'm going to go for Sunny Day right here, right now. So this way, you know, even though the speed boost doesn't matter, if he did decide to, like, you know, switch, I can still like get the Sun on my side here, right? So now the Pelipper's trapped in here and the Sun here, and look, there's the Urshifu in the Sun. This is also why I liked, you know, Sunny Day Tornadus, right? So now we just pretty much have to like make some calls here, but all in all, he does go for the Wide Guard again, probably anticipating like another Bleak Wind Storm, but again, we just want to single target the Pelipper and just remove it, which we do, right? So like Pixie Plate Moonblast thankfully picks it up. Pelipper doesn't have the greatest of special defenses. And now he's just going for Surging Strikes. He will pick up the Flutter, right? But again, remember, we're Rocky Helmet Tornadus. We have the Sun out. And now it's just pretty much it. Like, look how little this does to him. He's doing more damage to himself than he's doing to us, right? So this is the benefit of Rocky Helmet Tornadus, and in the Sun, Bleak Windstorm just pretty much finishes him off, right? So again, I played a little bit suboptimally. I made a couple mistakes turn one. I didn't go with my safer play option, like I said. And then at the end, you know, Woodhammer does more damage against the Iron Hands. I would have picked up that KO and kept the Rillaboom on the field. But all in all, like, you got to see the benefit of Sunny Day and Bulky Tornadus, which is, you know, the idea of what I wanted with the squad all in all, right? So I have some mistakes, but we were still able to pull it out here. Okay, so this is that Armarouge team with like Ursaluna, Torkoal, and that Lilligant here. So here's the thing. Heatran walls pretty much almost this entire team, especially like substitute Tera Grass. Like, he can't really touch it all that well, except for like expanding force damage, right? But, you know, at the same time, you still need Trick Room, right? And the Heatran can always capitalize off of that by just setting substitute turn one, and now we're kind of just chilling and just pretty much just blasting things with like Tera Blast, Tera Grass. And I understand that this Armarouge has Flash Fire, right? But, you know, he has to lead that, right? And we're also going to lead something to help us against that. Okay, so I'm going to go with Heatran and Urshifu, right? And he's going with Torkoal and Lilligant. So he's going with this stuff, right? So that's fine. He's probably just gonna go for like, he definitely wanted to try like After You Eruption, but again, that's not gonna work here. And he might even just consider like Solar Blading my Urshifu, right? I don't think he goes for the sleep play at all, because if you can kill it, then you don't need to sleep it, right? But in essence, I'm still gonna go Tera Grass Heatran here. Now, if he wanted to, he could have easily swapped in his Armarouge to take in this Heat Wave, right? But he didn't. I decided to, like, you know, let me take that risk and let me see what he's got, because in essence it's still not like a huge deal, because I still have the Urshifu for the back in the end game. I'm just gonna switch it out, but he stays in Solar Blade into the Protect, right? Then here's the Heat Wave. We missed the Lilligant, which is the one I wanted to hit, unfortunately, and he goes for Earth Power, which is also why I went for Tera Grass here. So, you know, we do survive that, right? So of course, then next turn here, let's go into Rillaboom here. Let's try and survive this. Let's go with the Heat Wave again. He protects Torkoal here, which is interesting. Solar Blade yet again. All right, here's the Heat Wave. We do connect on the Lilligant this time. We get it down to Sash. I would love a burn, but of course I don't get it. But we do have pressure against this Torkoal now. I don't really care about this Lilligant, whatever it does. You can't really sleep me. Solar Blade does no damage here, so I'm just going to fake out the Torkoal, click Heat Wave, kill the Lilligant, do some big chip into the Torkoal altogether. And the Heatran is literally just sitting here and clicking moves. Here's the Flutter Mane. So, like, again, Assault Vest, Rillaboom. You know, Flutter Mane's not really doing much here. So I'm just going to stay in. He goes Terra Fairy. Moonblast, we live. We have an Assault Vest. All right, and here's another Heat Wave. We pick up the Torkoal. And now we just click Woodhammer, and the Flutter Mane just dies. And, of course, it's probably Ursaluna in the back, maybe. Or maybe even, like, Armarouge or something. But, like, that's pretty much it, right? So, you know, Tera Grass Heatran still very, very strong against teams like that. Especially, you know, if you are able to just go for substitute altogether, you get to see the benefits there. All right, so that's pretty much it. So again, like, you know, on paper it looks like a standard 6, but we've made some adjustments and some tweaks and quote unquote modernized what is otherwise a standard 6, you know, for something that is like, you know, post World Championships, right? So if you need a starting point, you know, if you're trying to plan for something, you know, for a tournament, you know, later this week or later, you know, in the month, and you need something to like go by, if you need like a baseline, here it is. Take this team. Let me know how you do. And again, you're free to adjust a couple things, right? If you like, you know, Swords Dance over here, or Taunt, if you like Focus Sash back on the Chien-Pao here. We didn't even get to showcase the Life Orb Chien-Pao actually. If you like our bulky Tornado set, definitely go for that. If you like Rain Dance here, of course, it's still very, very good. You're free to like make changes, right? But at the very least, I've given you guys a good starting point and still a very, very strong team that you can use for your ladder or tournament needs. All right, that'll be it for now, folks. And again, if you're interested in team building and you need a little bit of help, sign up for coaching, tier 3 sub to the channel. Look at the video description below, look at the pinned comment, or every single video has a join now button where you can join with that tier 3 sub. And then from there, you're able to message me on Discord, then we can plan a Discord call, and then from there, get you the team that you need to be able to compete in whatever fashion that you need it for. All right, we'll be back with another video the next time, guys. Peace out and have a good one.